So, have you ever really thought about this? I mean, how did a machine, something that was built to spread knowledge, end up pouring gasoline all over Europe's religious wars? How could simple ink on paper, something so quiet, spark centuries of bloodshed and completely redraw the map of an entire continent?
You see, this is not just the story of books. The real story behind the printing press, well, it isn't that nice, comforting tale of pure enlightenment we all like to tell ourselves.
No. It's the story of what happens when information starts moving way faster than the people in charge. It's about acceleration. It's about ideas getting copied and multiplied beyond anyone's control.
So let's really get into this. We're going to see how this simple machine didn't just spread ideas. It completely changed the very nature of belief itself. Okay, to really feel the shockwave, you have to picture the world before Gutenberg. For almost all of human history, ideas moved at the speed of someone's voice, or maybe a horse. Knowledge was rare, it was incredibly slow, and you better believe it, it was heavily guarded. In medieval Europe, truth was basically a one-way street. It flowed from the top all the way down. The Bible? It was in Latin, so most people couldn't read it anyway. All the interpretation was handled by a tiny group of people. And this wasn't just a tech problem. It was a system, a way of keeping ideas contained.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got the world of the scribe, monks copying manuscripts one letter at a time for years. Books were so valuable they were sometimes literally chained to desks. And then, boom, the press arrives and just flips the script on everything, speed, control, and who gets access.
Now, Gutenberg, he was a goldsmith, a tinkerer. He didn't invent printing out of thin air. What he did was fuse these three existing ideas into something that was just explosively efficient. And the result? The Gutenberg Bible. It was crisp, uniform, and you could make thousands of them. And ironically, at first, the church absolutely loved it.
So an idea gets out, but you might be surprised what the first bestsellers were. They weren't science textbooks or deep philosophy. Nope, they were pamphlets. Short, cheap, emotional, and totally designed to make you mad. They mocked priests, they questioned the king, and they used these sharp woodcut images that even people who couldn't read would get.
And this timeline, it just shows you the incredible new speed of everything. In 1517, Martin Luther posts his 95 Theses. Before the press, that might have just died out in a monastery somewhere, but now, it became a continental firestorm. His ideas got translated, printed in huge numbers, read out loud in taverns, and passed from hand to hand.
And this right here was the crucial change. All of a sudden, an idea didn't need a bishop's permission. It didn't need to be slowly copied for years. And once it was out there, well, there was no calling it back. The church responded the only way it knew how, with censorship and force.
But that's the whole problem, isn't it? The old ways of controlling things were just useless against this new technology. Trying to suppress a printed idea was like trying to catch smoke in a net.
So, all this escalation leads us to what you could call the Great Argument. Because this is where the press shows its true nature. See, it didn't pick a side in the religious debate. It just turned the volume up on the entire conflict.
Both sides totally weaponized the technology. The Protestants were pushing for everyone to interpret Scripture for themselves. The Catholics were flooding Europe with their own counter-pamphlets and approved Bibles. Each side was screaming that they had the absolute truth, and now each side had the printed proof to back it up.
For the first time ever, faith was something you could actually hold in your hands and read for yourself, not just something you heard from a priest. And this made religious identities harder, more defined. Lines were drawn, and disagreements that used to just simmer quietly now exploded out in the open.
And the result? Well, it was devastating. The 30 Years' War alone was one of the most destructive conflicts Europe has ever seen, leaving millions dead. And behind all of it was the relentless churning of the presses, pumping out sermons, manifestos, and calls to arms.
Yeah, words weren't just words anymore. They had become weapons in a battle for the soul of an entire continent.
So, what's the real lesson here? What's the one thing that most people completely miss about this whole chapter of history?
This is it. This is the whole thing. The press didn't cause war because it made people smarter. It caused war because the institutions in power, the governments, the churches, they were all built for a slow-moving world. Print completely shattered that balance. A radical idea could now move faster than the system designed to shut it down.
And what about trying to censor things? Well, that just backfired spectacularly. Trying to ban a book just turned it into forbidden fruit, which basically guaranteed everyone would want to read it.
For the first time, people in power had to face this terrifying new reality.
Once a mass communication technology is out there, you cannot move faster than it. You can't outrun it. Sound familiar?
But here's the thing. The press never stopped. And over time, the chaos it created did start to settle down. States figured out how to regulate, churches adapted, and a whole new kind of world started to emerge from the wreckage. And yes, the printing press did eventually give us things like democracy, modern science, and the concept of human rights, but it got there the hard way, through decades of fragmentation and war.
And that might be the most honest way to think about it. The printing press taught us that when everyone can speak at once, agreement gets tricky. Our modern world was literally forged in the fires of that great argument.
And that press, it never stopped. Every single time you scroll or share or argue with someone online, you are living inside the world that Gutenberg unleashed. The machine is still running. It's just changed its shape.